Shut down. Oh. Pause on. Okay. So I'll just mute it and keep it on. Sure.
Paul, George.
We got you, Paul.
I'm calling you because I can see all of you, but
Can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
I'm gonna put it on mute till the meeting starts.
Can you see me?
We see your name.
Okay,
on your
well,
face.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you for, what time is it there?
It's 1:30 a.m.
Oh, UAV. Okay, stand by.
All right, good. So I'm here. I don't know why my camera. If I turn this around, well, I won't be able to see you guys. So.
Paul, try turning your camera
Oh, here we go. Well, there.
on. There you are. Now we see you. Okay, I'm gonna put you on mute.
Buongiorno.
It's all right.
Hello.
Jack,
Yeah,
how come you can still hear me and I can hear you?
I don't know.
I'm not hearing anybody.
Because you guys are on a phone call. That's assume.
Can you folks hear me there? There we go.
I can provide. I can. Possibly you can share my screen. You know, like Google Maps or something. Yeah, I'm glad that you just said that, not just, oh, and you asked about the map, okay, okay. Get your zoning map up. Okay. Thank you. You got it. Keeps the snow out there. Actually, 2 minutes. It's that.
Okay, it is 5:30. It is November 19th. Call this meeting to order. We have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a roll call, please.
Mayor Winky.
Present.
Mr.
Did you hear me?
Yes. Mr. Yago.
Present.
Mr. Fulton.
Present.
Mr. Nordike. Mr. Wilhelm.
Present.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Instead of reading off everybody's signatures, I can't read everybody's. Could we start in the back? Just introduce yourself and where your address is. So Twyla, if you could start and move down like this.
Twyla Giroux, 1100 County Road 160.
Stacy Fife, 206 Main Street.
Brad Bartlett, 401 South Fourth Street.
Okay. Charlie.
Charles Vogel, 2362 Black Pond Lane.
Benjamin Livesey, 1855 Oak Grove Circle.
Also Wacky, 129 Sunday.
Mary Zwacky, 129 Sunday.
John Arsenal, 255 Road 182J.
Kristen Patterson, 408 South Third Street.
Jerry Peters, 409 South Fifth. James Perry, 813 First Street.
Pam Coots, 501 County Road. Damien, 810 South Fifth.
Rockwell, Kansas, 404 South Fifth Street.
Kevin Woolman, 1570 County Road 305.
Lumber Tanker, 11 Renata Court.
John Van Dorn, 107 North Adams.
Okay, is anybody that came in afterwards?
Dennis and Becky Bruns, 140 Sun Deck.
Rob Flynn, address
Yes.
705 Shining Mountain, but I have Mountain Land properties in town.
Other people that are zooming in. We have John Van Doren who's here, but we have Debbie Van Doren. There's Debbie.
Blinky.
Yes, I can.
And then we have phone 328. They called in phone, do something. The people that they are calling in, could you identify yourselves one at a time? There's 3 people.
Kim Mazzolini, and I'm on the 907 number, and we just own lots in the area that you're considering rezoning.
Okay, good. Is there anybody else that is zooming in? We can-
Paul Winky. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, yeah, you are all, yes, you're all set. Okay, anybody else? Okay. We have a consent agenda, which is gonna be approval of the minutes of last month's meeting, the treasurer's report, and approval of bills. Are there any problems with any of this, or could we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Okay, we have approval or motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, under old business, Caleb, the first one, there's no on old business, we have new business. Consideration of a request to approve the lease agreement with Four Rivers equipment with payments to begin January of 2025. You explain this to us?
Yeah, so the reason you're seeing this now in November is that if I waited till December to get this in front of you, then we have to pay for the rental charges for October, November, and December. And if instead of doing that, the easier way was to get this in front of you, get it signed in November, so you don't have to pay those rental fees on top of leasing this. Now, the page you're seeing in front of, if you guys are on page 18 to 35 in your packet, you should have that lease agreement there. And it does show for the amount that we're also buying an additional bucket, a 2.1 cubic yard bucket. That is, and Mike, actually, Mike, you're here. Guys, this is Mike Hughes, one of the street park technicians. Mike, would you like to go ahead and explain this, please?
We've been presenting to you why this piece of equipment is a necessity to the town. It's not that the skid steer that we have is a bad piece of equipment. It's a great piece of equipment, don't get me wrong, but it is not an appropriate piece of equipment for what we do. One is a safety factor, that's visibility, and it's blindsided unit, and you can't see the traffic. The other is that it's a tire eater being a skid steer. Tears up the trails, tears up the chip seal, leaves marks on the pavement. And the other reason that it is essential for the town to have a front end loader, not only does it have a better capability, you're up higher, you have a better field of view, you don't have them blind spots. And with the addition of the curb and gutter, we don't have as many places to plow snow off that we used to. So now we have to haul it all off down to the parks and whatnot, which this piece of equipment is gonna be a little quicker for mobility than the skid steer is. So for snow removal, it is a definite asset and a plus to the town. And the other is as far as all the other attachments that with broom and forklifts and the other bucket that we have fits this piece of equipment. They both have the same ISO connection, quick attach on them. So we're not giving up any of the equipment that the town already owns. We can use it with this new piece of equipment. And I don't see same thing, but I think that page shows an additional bucket, but that's not gonna be on there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike.
It comes with a bucket, and that other one was an optional bucket.
Perfect, yeah, so the one you're seeing right now, if you're on your desk, you have the correct payment, thank you very much, Mike. Originally, the charge was going to be $116,000, it is now $111,000 with 1% off of that lease agreement, so we're cheaper price, better interest rate.
Oh, pretty good. You sure with the snows that we've had the last couple of weeks, we really don't need to keep that as a backup for situations like we just had with the big snowstorm?
Yes, so it's not that would it be nice to have it, it's that now instead of having lease payments at whatever the skid steer is a year, 12 grand a year, now we're effectively going to be doubling that. Without that trade in, our lease payments would be more expensive. So this is a way of just trying to keep costs down.
Okay. And I see we're getting a better deal than what we were getting.
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
better interest rate, less money as far as that bucket goes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Good job.
Okay, we need a motion to approve or deny. You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the John Deere contract for the various components here for the price, $111,978. That's the net price, right?
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Okay, any other second? Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm against? No. Okay, motion's passed unanimously. Okay, the reason most of you are here tonight is a public hearing. I see that a lot of you have already been to the planning commission meetings before. So now it's coming to a different board, the board of trustees. We are going, excuse me?
Little louder.
Okay. I'm gonna ask Caleb first of all to explain what this is happening. I'm gonna open it up to public comment. I would ask that everybody needs to keep this under 3 minutes when you have something to say. And also to listen to what everybody else is saying. And if somebody has said something that you're just gonna repeat, then maybe we don't need to hear it. I would like to hear what everybody has to say, pro and con. And then we can open up discussion amongst the trustees and then we vote. We're talking about two different issues in this public hearing. One is there's town-owned lots. And these lots were, the town is considering, with the recommendation of the planning commission, that we rezone them to multifamily. And this would allow us to have maybe a grant to get utilities into this area. And the second one is going to be privately owned lots. There's 4 blocks that are being considered for rezoning into multifamily. The planning commission was not unanimous in this, but they did send the recommendation that we do rezone it. So now it's gonna be up to the board of trustees to decide if we want to do this. So Caleb, could you just tell us a little bit about what the town is considering?
Yeah, no problem. Ladies, do you think I can maybe share my screen to get this zoning map up on the screen for everybody? Just so they can all see the proposed. Just let me know when that's ready.
We have to get Cody.
Oh,
Sorry. You have to go to share.zoom.us.
yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Put
Give them the meeting ID and then the passcode.
Yeah, could you click on the, no, I could, maybe I'm hearing you wrong. Would you be able to click on my 3 dots next to my name and click make host?
Do what?
The 3 dots next to my name.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
click
Sorry.
make host.
And then you'll turn it back.
Yes, ma'am. You got it.
All right.
Host. Perfect. All right. So right now, we're kind of looking at the screen. If you turn your attention to the screen, those on Zoom, you should be able to see that already. This rezoning is going to be, like Mayor Pro Tem said, of 2 different areas within the town. The purple, which is actually blue on your screen, it just is showing up as blue, is going to be lots 20, 19, all of 34, and half of 33. Those are the rezoning of those, let's just call them 4 blocks.
Caleb, could you use your cursor?
You got it. Yeah. So we got 20 here, white cursor on a white screen, so try to follow along. 19, which is the bottom left, that is highlighted. 34, all of 34, and then half of 33. So those are all the privately owned lots that are looking at that have been recommended to the Board of Trustees to rezone. The town lots are going to be, we're going to call these 33A, which is half of block 33, open space, or plus a sliver, and 34A, which is our orange here at the bottom right. So these are the lots within question. In order for something to be considered for rezoning, we have to go to our municipal code. Our municipal code, I'm going to be reading the last sentence of the first paragraph under 10.111A, which reads, rezoning shall only be allowed if the applicant demonstrates by clear and convincing evidence that the rezoning is necessary because one of the more following reasons. First one, the land to be rezoned was zoned in error and as presently zoned inconsistent with policies and goals of the town's master plan. The area for which rezoning is requested has changed or is changing to such a degree that it is in the public best interest to encourage redevelopment. Or 3, the proposed rezoning is necessary in order to provide a land for a community related issue, which was not anticipated at the time of the adoption of the town's master plan, and that is such that the rezoning will be consistent with the town's policies and goals of the master plan. Gonna go ahead and give that back over to you, Kathy, for the screen. Okay, so you are host. So hopefully that helps. Would you like me to go ahead and describe some of the zoning itself? Or do you take it?
Let's go ahead and open it up to some comments. And if we, go ahead.
So, just to be clear, when we judge this, it has to be in compliance with one of those three criteria, right?
Yeah, so again, the board's role in this as a quasi judicial role would be to see if it meets one of the three criteria within our municipal code.
And that's the discussion,
Correct,
nothing else.
correct.
Okay, so we are limiting to the rezoning issue. Okay, so when you do speak, if you can come up here to the podium and
I
direct.
just have a question. What is the density of multifamily?
There is no density at the moment.
So you could do
What's his name?
condos. I'm Brock Flynn. You could do a condo type building, apartment type building, all the way down to a duplex. Anywhere in there is good, right?
Do we want to?
Um,
All right, well, I know
That's the question.
No, I don't mind. So there is, it's not in terms of how many people per square foot or per acre per lot. It's in units per lot. So a minimum of 2 family dwelling units at 2 lots and a maximum, this is on the privately owned lots, and a maximum of I think it's a quadplex, no more than 8 lots.
And that's the privately owned lots. What about the town?
No less
lots?
than 4, no more than 8.
I said, the town, I mean, so in other words, what's the highest density you could do that?
For the town lots,
Yeah.
let me go to the zoning. The town lots. Do we have our exhibits in here? Maybe not. All right, so the town lots are going to be, I think, a building footprint of no more than 7,500 square feet and a height of no more than 35 feet, which is currently our residential multifamily building.
Do you have any idea how many units go into 7,500 square feet?
Right now, we are talking, so that's kind of the unique situation right now with stop me if you guys want me to stop. That's kind of our unique situation with the town lots is that the town's gonna have a little bit more governance over what can go in and what can't go in this area. So that's why you're seeing a little bit more loose restrictions. Right now, we're talking with Chafa, Colorado Housing and Finance Authority on technical assistance to get us plans on what these buildings will look like. We have to apply for this grant on this December in order to, we'll have to rezone in order to apply for this grant in December. So things are kind of lining up to where, we will know exactly what these buildings will look like here shortly.
Okay, it's kind of fuzzy. Okay.
Okay, so rather than make it back and forth to Caleb to answer the questions, could we have some statements of what everybody thinks about this? So if you could identify yourself, preferably come up to the podium or at least stand up and make sure that your voice projects enough so everybody can hear it. Do we have people who would like to speak on this?
I'm Ben Livesey and I'm for the multi-unit housing rezoning due to the fact that I know workforce families that need places that are affordable to live. And currently it's unaffordable and people are having to move away, which causes restaurant shortages and shortages at grocery stores.
Other opinions, statements? Well, in the back.
Twyla Giroux, and I'm also for the rezoning. I do think that we need workforce housing. What I would like for you to seriously consider is not passing this zoning until you have all your ducks in a row with the zoning. So this kind of goes back to the DOLA lady who was here at one of the meetings, and she kind of did lay out some step-by-step points that can be made within our zoning. And specifically what I'm speaking about, and I'm not speaking for anyone else here. You know, I know we've already got the 35 feet height, and that's fine. I think he said four complexes in no more than 8 lots, and then it goes down from there. And that's all great, but what I would really like you to consider before passing any of this is putting more stipulations within your ordinance or your zoning so that we can truly house our workforce and not government subsidized housing, not, I guess I'll say low income because I think part of that is government subsidized. Somebody mentioned in an earlier meeting, and it wasn't in this meeting, it was in the planning commission. Several of the board members and the manager did chuckle at this. But one of my concerns, and obviously a concern of some other folks in there, was illegals. And so if I see a smile, I think that you're not taking this serious. And I am. And there may be others, I don't know. But I'm plumb serious about it. I want to be able to sell the people that work in our town a home. I want to be able to do that. And you're right, there is no affordable housing for our workforce, and I want to keep it workforce. I would urge you to not pass this yet, because I don't know if you've addressed all of these issues. And I guess my main issue is just, I'll restate real quickly, no government subsidized housing because I want it for our workforce people. And I want you to word it in such a way that we don't have to accept illegals being bussed in here. Thank you.
Okay. When you're making comments, I would also like to hear what people were talking about. 2 different issues. One is privately owned lots, 4 blocks of land that we are rezoning maybe, and town-owned ones that would go to maybe workforce housing. So if we hear some opinions on those 2 issues, along with other things. But please, anything else anybody wants to say? Yes.
John Van Dorn, 107 Adams Boulevard. I wanted to share with you some language that is in the draft master plan right now that references back to the housing needs assessment that was done 2 years ago. And I think all of us have heard the headline numbers for that assessment, but if you read the whole thing, buried within it, there's some very interesting data that I think is applicable to both issues, both the town-owned property and for the privately owned property that we're talking about having a little higher density in. So the assessment was actually for the cliffs. And some of the highlights is, and I'm just going to quote from the assessment, given the intensity of the problem today, 2.5 years ago, local businesses are looking for immediate solutions. They didn't get immediate solutions. We're 2.5 years past the publication of that and just beginning to really talk seriously about doing something. This is again in the assessment, 80% of our households are comprised of only one or two people. That was a surprising number for me because the vast majority of our housing stock is single family, 3 and 4 bedroom. So there's a huge mismatch between what we're offering people because we have zoned for so many years, most of our land in single family for residential that we haven't considered 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom housing that would be more appropriate for our basically our existing households. The rental vacancy 2.5 years ago was 0. That's never a good thing. This is again from the report. Without younger workers moving to town, the economy will be impacted, and we've already begun to see impacts. 65% of our residents in the Cliffs can't afford the average price home. And in 2.5 years, that's more like 80% because of appreciation of home values. I think it's fair to say, based on even just that number, that we have a housing crisis, and we really need to move forward and do something about it. This is something that jumped out at me. 70% of Custer County jobs are in the Cliffs. And if you think about it, 70% of Custer County jobs are in the Cliffs.
You are 3 minutes, so.
So speed it up. This is good stuff, though. And then in bold in the report is the immediate focus should be on building at least 40 to 50 rental units that are affordable to households earning 100% of the average median income in the Cliffs. These are some things that were not in the assessment that came up in some of our workshops that people shared. Last year, the school district made 4 offers of employment for teachers. Every one of those offers was turned down because they were unable to find affordable housing and chose to accept an offer elsewhere. So it's extremely important for the schools that we do something about this. Local business owners still struggle to keep staff and attract them. The going rate, talking to someone who just went through this, is about $1,600 a month for a 1-bedroom plus utilities. And the vacancy rate here is still 0. And then thanks to Bianca, we have 140 people plus who signed a petition in support of this project. And I think it's worth noting that part of the plan for the privately owned property is to encourage ADUs. And those ADUs will also likely our need for essential workers.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I ask for a clarification from something from Caleb? On the previous comments that were made.
Okay, yeah, let's try to keep our stuff, but go ahead.
Twyla Drew had mentioned the timing of the ordinance. We should perhaps not do it now, but Caleb, am I correct that it is necessary or expedient for you if zoning is passed now in order to get the DOLA grants?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Yeah. No, if I may, you did have some concern on who can be allowed and who can't be allowed, which is definitely valid, right? If we're gonna have affordable housing, kind of don't speak for the board, but it should go to those within the community. Now, Mr. Wenke, Mayor, has requested that we work on affordable housing ordinance. I currently am doing so. I've got some examples from Crescent Butte that I'm looking at to kind of shadow ours off of. So just if you're wondering if there is anything in play, I do have some working.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, other comments? Yes, Christie.
I'm Christy Patterson. I live at 408 South 3rd Street in Westcliff. I'm in support of this zone change for the property owned by the town, but I also agree that I know that there's a grant that the DOLA grant is coming up in December, but it also comes up in April. And I just think it would be more prudent to take some time and address, one thing I learned from the DOLA rep when she came to the last meeting was as a town, you can put into place what can be done with the properties, but doing so after the fact is not going to allow you as much flexibility, I guess I would say, with what you can do with those funds. And that is really, I'm saying that from the standpoint of at the planning commission, what we did repeatedly hear when the room was full was concerns about who the properties were going to be able to be rented to. And if the board would just be willing to take a little more time to put some ordinances in place to make sure that we really can help our workforce here that does need this, so that would be great. And I also think, I don't want to see that property be like, well, that's where workers live. We really need to incorporate it into our community as a whole, as this is like the south end of town, and it's not any different than Second Street and Third Street and Fourth Street and the rest of the community. And that might take a little more work on the front end to put these ideas in place and maybe be able to address Brock's concern where he says, well, it's a little gray, and also work on what John has put together about, or what he's finding out about what we need. I just think it would be more prudent for the board to work on those things first before making the zone change, before applying for a grant. And keeping in mind that we still have a water district that's a little, so great, we get this grant and we spend this money and get these lines in, and now we have a water district. It's like, we can't support that. We can't supply sewer for that. Hopefully that's being taken care of. But, and then for the privately owned properties, we did ask for the staff to put out a survey to all the residents and got 9 responses. I don't know, and I believe there's like 23 or 26 owners of the private property out there. I don't know if that's a good enough response to make that change without hearing from more people. And I know the staff made all the efforts, sent certified letters and everything, but I just don't know if that's fair for the people that own property out there to just change it. Thanks.
Other comments, questions? Yes.
I'm Matt Berry, resident actually of Antelope Valley, so out of West Cliff proper, just for straight and narrow. But just a point of clarification, are we combining points B and E, or is this just completely point B?
I think for the sake of the discussion, we're going to combine it, but the vote will be separate.
Okay, I appreciate that the vote is separate. I think it's slightly unfair that B and E is combined due to the contention of B. I am a prior resident of government subsidized housing. Right after high school, I moved out and lived in subsidized housing in Castle Rock. It's not necessarily straight up the worst thing in the world. Those apartments are still there. They're still next to a very thriving mall, and I worked at the Target that was a few blocks away. I would not be here today without government subsidized housing. I would probably be still on the street or dead in a ditch. So I mean, without that extreme, I don't think that saying that government subsidized housing is the worst thing in the world. But I do understand that with the size of West Cliff, you do need to control the growth. You can't growth is going to be a freight train that's going to be something that is a part of these meetings inevitably. You can't tell growth to stop, but you can control it, and you can control it responsibly. I am not a trustee. I don't know the expertise in that, but it does frustrate me seeing friends of it does frustrate me to see friends that cannot afford to live in this community. because specifically they can't afford housing, whether it's a rental, it's ownership. I mean, Twyla was mentioning ownership. With some of these jobs out here, I don't think ownership is gonna be the best thing. I think ultimately it's going to turn into a rental building. And I don't think that that's the worst thing in the world. There are currently rental buildings, there's multiple apartments in Westcliff and Silver Cliff. So that's where I stand. Also specifically to point E, since we're combining that with 106 South.
You're saying E or?
Point E, echo, with 106 South.
E's going to be completely separate, it's a separate hearing.
Okay,
So this is.
sorry, that was my clarification.
Yeah,
of
sorry, I
trying to
thought you said C.
Sorry.
We were talking about B and C. So the next hearing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
So my name is Pam Oots and I live at County Road 324. And I am in support of the workforce housing. I have 10 years experience in real estate development, mixed use centers in other states. And a lot of the work that we did also was working with other developers on bringing in workforce housing in communities very similar to Westcliff now. So I know the tensions that are there. There's been a housing needs assessment, everybody knows, and back 2 years ago, they said that we were 35 dwellings short county-wise. That's gotten to be more. My anecdotal experience is our son was a school teacher at Cotopaxi, which I know is not in Custer County or Westcliff, but he was unable to find any housing that he could live in and drove an hour and 15 to an hour and 20 minutes away to and from work to Cotopaxi, ran off the road twice during bad weather. And it was an uncomfortable situation. As much as he loved teaching in Cotopaxi, he ended up quitting after 3 years because the commute was just taking too much out of him and in the way of cutting into his budget as well as his quality of life and time. So I think I would like to say that what I've seen is that there are some misconceptions about what Caleb Mr. Patterson is trying to do. By the way, I want to say that I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of governing authorities and zoning officials. And I've met with Mr. Patterson, and I would say he is one of the top 3 that I've ever worked with regard to his, caring about the community, his enthusiasm and his willingness to learn and his capacity at, I'm sorry to say that at such a young age. I'm 62, so I can say that. But kudos to you, and I hope that we as a community work very hard to support him and retain him. And I know the Board of Trustees has done a really good job in supporting him. So I'd like to see some more rebuttal to the misconceptions. This is not going to be Section 8 housing. This is not going to be housing where immigrants are going to come in. I can tell you from working in other communities that there are absolutely restrictions that you can put in place to keep these kinds of things from happening. And it is from everything from ensuring that the workforce inhabit these rentals to how long they're there, to the design of the buildings, and they can be designed very, very nicely. From what I'm understanding, this is not government subsidized housing. Is that correct?
Don't know what you mean by that
Meaning this
exactly.
is not Section 8 or HUD housing.
Correct. It's not Section 8.
Right, so these grants that Caleb Mr. Patterson has worked extremely hard to get don't have any strings attached. It's just to see if we can get the infrastructure in and do these housing needs, right?
For this grant, it is just for infrastructure.
Right.
This grant is just for infrastructure.
Correct. He cannot apply for this grant unless we rezone that property. So, saying let's just hold back and look at it later, we're kicking the can down the road. I've seen that these meetings have been happening countywide since 2018 and nothing's been done. We're at a critical time right now. And I have seen resort communities, Vail is one of them, that went to bankruptcy before the bigger business owners finally got together and said, we got to do something. We're losing our our pants and they started to build housing that was affordable for the workforce. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Other comments? Bianca?
I didn't have anything to say today, but John said I was gonna talk after all, so I don't wanna let him down.
Who are you?
I'm Bianca, Reagan's Lodging in West Cliff. I live at 11 Granada Court. I loved that story that you lived in government subsidized housing. It reminded me to let people know in 1992, when I graduated from culinary school and worked as a cook in Snowmass Village, it was the same problem. I lived in workforce housing back then. This isn't new. It was the same situation. The rich people didn't want to see where the workers lived. And it was a big to-do. And then finally it was built and it was very strictly maintained. If you weren't working in the valley, you didn't live there. So it can be done then. I'm sure it can be done now. The freight train, also very good visual. One of my big fears, businesses right now struggle to keep workforce. I do, restaurants do. Those 140 signatures, that'll probably never live down in this community. 13 of them were business owners. Actually, Caleb counted those for me. At least 6 to 8 of them were managers. The rest of them were just people who happened to be at work that day, and I only did that for 4 days in the afternoon for a few hours. My concern with the freight train analogy, because I've seen it in so many small towns across Colorado, is it weakens a community to not have a workforce. And when one day big money rolls over that mountain and sees the beauty of this valley and buys it up, the ordinance is already in place. They'll buy and build what they want to build. They'll work within what's already here, and nobody's going to stop them because they know how to do that. And the workforce, stereotypically then, in pretty much almost every small town across the state, has to commute in 30 to 60 minutes. Great example about the teacher. We recently had an EMT trying to drive in from, outside of town on a snowy day. And that was a very sad situation. I don't mean to use that for any kind of a gain. It is a truth though. It's a fact. And there's so many of our people coming in that same. Now to sum up, because I know I'm going on here, the couple concerns I would encourage, I don't know if it goes back to planning and zoning or this board. I think it was voted down that, I don't know how it was phrased, but Christy, you can help me with that. Like, I think the town needs to control what is, before a builder is just allowed to build. It was voted down actually in planning and zoning. I think most of the community has a fear that will be ugly or unsightly or whatever. So I don't know how that has to be readdressed, but I do feel like citizen input should be, and the town board, everybody should be involved with that. When I lived in Teller County, the Walmart was held to task until the community was happy with what they were going to put in. If Walmart can be held to task, I feel like whoever comes in to build anything around here should be as well. And that's it.
Good job. It is my fault.
Okay, others. Carly, you had your hand up a couple of times.
Well, I took it back down because I was gonna say the same thing. Again, I would encourage you to have all your ducks in a row for zoning before you do this. So I'm for the infrastructure. We really don't have a winter economy, so you're gonna build all these houses, and we don't really have the winter economy. We don't have the winter sports like snowmass or Vail or any of the rest of Slida for that matter. So that's something to consider, but I really think that we do need this. But we don't wanna get 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 years down the line and say, why didn't we put this in order in the first place? It's a lot easier to put stuff in order on the front end of something than it is to change the rules in the middle of the game. That's all I'm asking you to do, is to consider all of that when you move forward and just have it in order. Think about all of these things. I'm not against any of this except for, I do think there are probably strings attached somewhere down the line. There probably will be. I've sat on the board too. I've used DOLA grants. I know that there are strings attached, period. So that's all I'm asking. That's just restating really something that I've already said. And as far as the town lots as opposed to the individual people, I don't think you should take it away from these individual people that they could build a single family home. I don't know if you can do dual zoning for something like that. Because shoot, if I owned a lot over there, I'd be all for this grant. Why not? You get free infrastructure, you bet. It just makes the value of that lot go way up. I would be for that. I'm not for taking away the option of the residential on those privately owned lots. Town lots, I think what you guys are planning as far as zoning is good. I just think it's not quite done. I just don't think you're quite done with your zoning rules. That's all.
Thank you. Yes,
Just another question. Can y'all, before you pass this, put architectural requirements on it? Can you say, okay, we gotta build that to where it matches sort of the types of, you get a green metal roof, you get some stucco siding, stuff like that, and go in and put that in place before you change the zoning, and that way it's gonna make everybody feel a lot more secure about what's going on.
yeah. Without actually answering that, I will kind of answer. It has been considered architectural standards before, and I think it's been kind of rejected. I think that the town does have power to do that. But I'm not gonna get into that because I really don't know. And Caleb, you can answer that later. Okay. In the meantime, we will come back to that. Okay.
One last quick question. If this were passed tonight, between now and when Round Mountain gets all that, I mean, the time it's gonna take some years or whatever. The ordinances that people are concerned about, can the town still put it in place then?
May I interject? Because I've been through all of those meetings, okay? And so just for clarification, Caleb, please correct if I'm incorrect, but this is all about infrastructure. Okay, the rezoning of the private lots are up to a duplex or a fourplex based on how many lots you own. You know, most people probably only have two, I don't know. I've looked at some of them, but I don't know them all. So in other words, it's not gonna restrict that you can put your single family house on there. You know, you can do whatever you want, but if you want to put a duplex, and I've done a duplex, so you don't want a single family.
Yeah,
Like a single house, so, and then, but like, John said earlier too, is to, and encourage builders, owners to, when they build their single family house, to consider an ADU, a apartment above the garage or separate building, whatever. And that's become very popular and very efficient for homeowners. So that's what I see is where we are. And so and also too, let's say we get this DOLA grant, we'll know if we apply for it by December 1st, correct? Correct. We should know by January or whatever, then it starts. And then once we get the infrastructure done, and prior to that, it's being installed, then we can come back and have these architectural controls if we all agree as a community to do that. Okay, and I've looked at a lot of them all over the states in the West, and there's a lot of very nice looking places that would fit in beautifully in our community. I'm talking about mountain communities in Kansas and Nebraska. Okay, and so I hear you all are talking about that. I'm concerned about that too. I've been here a long time as well. And I want my goal is to have something we'll all be proud of and the people be happy to live there. No matter whether they're waiting on us at the restaurant or cleaning somebody's short-term rental or apartment or whatever. So that hopefully that clarifies a little bit, but it's saying up to a duplex or a fourplex based on how many lots you have.
So can we have a clarification for that? In your proposal, the proposal is coming before this rezoning, can you have single family?
So clarification on a couple of things, starting with that. The minimum on the privately owned lots, the minimum you can have is a two-family dwelling that's either duplex or single-family home with a required ADU on a minimum of 2 lots and no greater than 4 as your density for the smaller and a maximum of a fourplex on a minimum of 4 lots and a maximum of 8 lots. Talking about timelines, now whatever the board wants to pass
Wait,
this,
so that is just for the town-owned
that is
lots?
just for the
And what-
residential lots, town-owned lots.
And what about all the private ones would be that too?
That's what it
That
is.
you could do a single family.
Did I say town-owned? My apologies. I meant that's the zoning for the private ones. Yes. Now going to answer some of the questions as far as timelines, we should get the answer from DOLA on around April 2025. Hopefully we can get some engineering complete, and then 2026, hopefully we can get some infrastructure. And then you may even be another year after that before 2026, 2028. So if we're thinking about, do we have time past X, Y, and Z? Just know that there's a few years before. Exactly.
I just want to clarify what you were just saying. The private owned lots right now are zoned for single family, but you can have a duplex on it?
It is a single, let me get the exact terminology of what we have in our zoning code. Single family. Dwelling two family. It's a dwelling two family. That's the minimum. It's a dwelling two family and to a maximum of a dwelling 4 family.
So that's what the existing zoning is, or you were
The
saying?
existing zoning is residential single family. The proposed is a minimum of dwelling 2 family to a max of dwelling 4 family.
That's what we have in town right now.
Yeah.
The whole town's that way.
And what is the zoning for?
Well, just, hold on, I just wanna, right now, the town, we have residential single family district, which allows for a dwelling single family and a dwelling 2 family. So that's right now what's allowed to the town. What's
And no
proposed,
ADUs, right?
what's that?
No ADUs at this point.
Right now, we're gonna be codified. Before the ADU code got passed, you could have, and that's where the dwelling 2 family comes up, you could have had a second family home. It just couldn't be less than a certain square footage. That's where the ADU code is to allow for that. The now proposed is dwelling 2 family to a max of, I'm gonna call it dwelling 4 family, right, quadplex. So duplex to a quadplex essentially is what we're talking about. So hopefully that clears that up.
So you could actually then also, so fourplex would be the max you could put down there.
Correct.
The minimum would be a 2-plex.
Minimum would be a duplex.
Right.
Yes, and it could look as in a duplex or as a single family home with ADU or so yeah, that's what it could look like.
That's for the town land and the proposed.
That is for the residential, or that's for the privately owned lots. The town land right now is not even zoned at all. In fact, it's called public space. Right now, we haven't zoned as that. The town land will be a building of no higher than 35 feet at 7,500 square footprint. So that's it doesn't give specific how many buildings we can have. Right now, the reason that was set up that way was to allow for loose requirements, because since the town owns that, it needs to be, and there's that empty space in between the lots. That's for a development to come in. Essentially, you're just giving them loose requirements for them to develop, and then show you that plan based on those loose requirements. So density as far as the town owned lots is still up for debate so far. So.
Yes, can I ask a clarification? All right, what I'm understanding is that for the privately owned lots that are in question right now, they could be up to a duplex if they wanted to, or they could just be a single family housing.
Correct.
Correct. However, if they get rezoned as is proposed, the minimum would be a single family home and an ADU or a duplex. That would be the minimum. Correct. Okay.
Oh, you can do a single family and an ADU with this, with the new zoning? Single family with, but you have to have the ADU.
Correct.
Sorry, I'm sorry about my ignorance. What does ADU stand for?
Additional dwelling unit.
Accessory dwelling.
Christie?
I thought that when we had talked to planning commission about, it was no more, no more than 2 of the 7,500 square foot on one of the town owned parcels. That's what I'm remembering. I just remember that we had put a maximum number on that.
So right now, I'm looking at one of our exhibits to go along with that rezoning. Structure shall be limited to a building footprint 7,500 square feet, no taller than 35 feet in height. That did get changed right before it did get passed.
Yes, just another question. You said you had 9 respondents out of Brock Flynn. You had 9 respondents out of 23 property owners in the privately held town blocks that we're discussing, correct?
Right, yeah. One of the actual numbers is like 8 out of 26. Responded.
Like, I'm talking about per ownership, not per lot or per pair. The point is if you make someone build a duplex or an ADU, that may negatively impact their ability to utilize their property. Because when they bought it, they didn't plan to do that. Now you're gonna make it a lot more expensive for them to develop their own property. Just, I'm a real estate broker, and that's, if somebody came in and just switched the rules on somebody, that'll make some folks mad, but so y'all.
Okay, other comments? Yes.
That's what I said, do.
Evening, James A. Perry, small scale developer. I currently live in Silver Cliff, and I actually own some of the lots in question, blocks 20 and 33. I'm in favor, cautiously supportive. I agree 100% with workforce housing observations. I've seen it, I know people. I also support private property rights, but there is a balance. If someone's gotten 5 notices in the mail and if it's been in the paper, if it's been discussed, it's kind of on me as a landowner to at least join the discussion. So I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't heard back from more than 9. So it is a delicate balance. One point that hasn't been fully brought up, but it was hinted at, I do believe that there are strings attached to most grants because grants are given partly to help, but also to support approaches. Denver sometimes has a different approach than the small mountain towns like Westcliff. An example might be if they're in favor of an electric vehicle charger in every garage, they might request some energy code or some newer building code. And if we take the grant money, does that put restrictions on us and what zoning we have to support that? So I would just ask, and I've had discussions with Caleb, and right now we're IBC, IRC 2006. That's solid. That's a very good compromise. That's reasonable building. That's making sure that your roof's strong enough that the snow load doesn't crush it in. But we don't have a lot of extraneous code. We're not mandating how people use energy, and that's important to me. So I would just ask that if we pursue this grant, that we keep a careful eye and what are any of the other requirements or suggestions for that. I would like to keep what works for Westcliff working for Westcliff. And yes, if I do build any units there, I absolutely want to help people in this town, workforce, and it was said at one of the planning commission meetings too, we have to keep the retirees in mind. They might not be working at the moment, but if you're on a fixed income, that's pretty rough too, but we want you to be able to stay as well. So for the whole community. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Other comments? And anybody that zoomed in, do you have comments that you would like to? Mayor Wenke will come back to you in the discussion. But we had one lot owner that had zoomed in. Is that Linda?
Kim. They went away, didn't it?
No, I'm here. I'm here. I guess I have a couple comments. First, I've experienced, the implications and the implementation of affordable housing, specifically in Bend, Oregon. And you're very accurate in saying that you have to have your plans and to prevent the pitfalls that I've seen occur with the implementation. I still think that we are very much in favor of seeing the zoning change, which would allow the infrastructure to be placed. And it's my understanding, listening to Caleb, that the year or two it's going to take to, if we do get the grant, to get the infrastructure in, will be spent then putting up the parameters around what can be built where and what has to be done. Am I accurate in assuming that?
Say that's what there is a year for the board to discuss, or board's representative to discuss, the building aesthetics.
Okay, and one of the big two of the major pitfalls I've seen happen are, one, they want to build all this housing and they've inappropriately estimated how much they need, so they overbuild initially. Second, they minimize the parking requirements for multiplexes. Therefore, there's no parking available for the residents in these multiplex units. And the parking then becomes an issue which spills over into local neighborhoods. And so that's the two things that I've noticed that have been really problematic. One of the questions I have for you is that our lots are in block 34 and the city-owned lots are in 33. So I'm wondering, is block 34 kind of going to be out in an island? Because I know initially you had said that you wanted to do 33 and 34 as apartments or more than just fourplexes. Has that changed?
So you live in which block?
34.
The block in question is which block?
It's block 34, sorry, yes.
So you live in 34 and you're talking about that block to the east of you that is disconnected by 6th Street?
Right, where the city lots are located, because it appears that we might be just right across from the city lots, which then separates it from all the other lots that are, in block, what I would assume it'd be 30 and 29 or whatever on the other side.
Yeah, I will be advising the board to vacate 6th Street that goes in between, we'll call that block 33 and 33A.
Okay.
So that little sliver of land essentially becomes that little sliver of land plus that triangle essentially becomes a whole block, while the other one remains half a block.
Okay.
Now the question about parking, right now for the town-owned lots, there's 1.75 parking per unit, and our current zone, go to supplementary regulations, go to parking. Our current zone is 2 parking spaces per unit, so, and that would be for the privately owned lots.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
Caleb, I got a question for you. You said you're going to ask the board to vacate 6th Street?
No. Caleb said that, or I believe that was Caleb. That wasn't what I just want to know if the lots that we own are going to be kind of out there on an island. But
Yeah, this was a separate question about vacating 6th Street on.
Yeah, later, there's that little 33A, you go to page 28 of 35. 33A is a little sliver, it's between 30 blocks 33, 15 through 28, and if you go to that picture, you'll be able to see that there's roughly half a block that separates them. I will be advising you guys on vacating that in between, because it just makes sense. Why keep it in that open space? So. one thing first. One thing, then the next.
I'm still slightly confused. 34A,
I don't,
this street right here, Sixth Street right here.
no,
Not
above
going to
that.
be just this one up here.
Correct.
Okay, now, now I've clarified. So it's not all.
So have we gotten all the documents that you're talking about, what the planning commission has decided, what you're planning? Do we have all these? I mean, you talking about the parking spaces and?
Correct, exhibit B and C should be in your packets. Ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, exhibit C should be in the packets as well.
Or are there other ones that you have come up with?
No, so the parking, you're asking, 1.75 spaces per parking unit, that is in number 3 of exhibit C. And then if you go to Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 2, you go to parking as a whole restriction. That's our supplementary regulations.
So we have seen all these ideas.
Correct.
That's all my questions.
Correct.
Okay, are there other comments from anybody that you'd like to make at this point? Yes.
Mary Swaggy, and, majority owner in lot 18 in second filing. So in the planning and zoning meetings that we've had on this, we've talked about, how are we exploring other opportunities? It seems like we're really focused on second filing and can't get past, including Silver Cliff and the county in general in these discussions. We're totally boxed in on the improvements for second filing and not exploring other options. One of the reasons I'm concerned about this, and I don't think there's anybody in this county that could say we don't need affordable housing. We definitely do. And I don't think anybody in this room is against affordable housing. We are mostly concerned in how it's done. The other thing is that I'm concerned if we get this grant, if we put in water and sewer, that's great. But in that area right now along 6th Street, there's no road. We have to put in roads. We have to put in electric. Are we gonna pave those roads? We have to have parking. There is a lot more that I have questions about. Are we going to get grants for this additional infrastructure to do this? Or is this going to be something that the city has to provide? And does the city have that kind of money to do this? Has anybody gotten estimates on this? Has anybody looked at this? We're talking about design here, but we're not talking about what comes. I think we kind of got our cart before our horse.
Typically, Mary, in proposals to the developer, on at least the town-owned properties, would be that that's part of their package as far as creating the community, whatever size buildings they are, and whatever guidelines that we as a town give them to follow. And then they put in that part. As far as the other streets, ultimately, it'll get paved like all the other streets in town. But that, again, that's down the road, but down the road will be here before we know it, of course. But
But if we have, somebody owns, let's say they own half a block, and they're looking at doing, even if it's a developer that buys that half block might have an apartment building on it, but then who pays for road improvement, who, they may bring in the electric, but, as far as, I think what we're talking about now is doing the rezoning and doing the city-owned lots first, or blocks first. And does that mean that the city does that, or is the city planning on having a developer pay for all of that? It's a question.
Yeah.
And especially the privately owned ones. If we don't have a developer, then, so I understand what you're saying.
And they may, they might only buy 2 blocks in there. Well, that's not gonna pave much road. So I just want people to think about that.
Well, I think most of the roads around here were built with grants, all the paving and chip sealing, stuff like that. So, you know, so I remember 25 years ago, a lot of these roads weren't paved in the town of West Cliff.
Currently, we can no longer you can't get grants for paving or chips
Oh, you can't.
You can get patching, you can get paved patching.
within a larger grant.
Yeah, within a larger grant, but correct, Kathy's right.
But in this grant, we're only going for water and sewage.
Right.
Okay, are there other comments? Thank you.
Another question, sorry. Does this grant address the tap fees to do this? I mean, for the Round Mountain Water, so in other words, we get the infrastructure put in and we have the ability to build these buildings. Are the developers gonna have to pay the individual tap fees per dwelling? Or how's that gonna be handled? Because tap fees are expensive right now.
Yeah, and that's gonna be pretty much up to Round Mountain to set the tap fees. Other comments? Okay, anybody else on Zoom that has anything else? We're gonna get to. Okay, let's open it up then to discussion amongst the trustees. I'd like everybody to have their chance to ask questions, to give your opinions, to discuss this. Should we start with the mayor, who is half a world away? Mr. Mayor, would you like to comment? Can you hear me?
I unmuted, he muted himself again.
Okay, you're muted. Mr. Mayor, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Unmute yourself.
Um,
There we go.
yes, no, I don't have anything to add. Interestingly, I'm here in Lake Como, Italy, and they have the same problem that we are facing right now, workforce housing. So it's, I guess, in this little spot of the earth. Anyway, it's been a good discussion. I think great input from the people here in the audience listening, and but I have nothing to add.
Okay. Do you want to go around, or you just want to? Bob, you want to start?
I appreciate everybody's input, a lot of valuable stuff, and trust me, we've been spent a lot of hours on this and research. So thank you for your input. I learned a few new things myself.
Sorry.
I'm with Bob. I'm thankful that everybody has had an input to it, and there's many opinions and factual information presented. One of the reasons I wanted to become part of this board is to stop the kicking the can down the damn aisle. The Round Mountain water situation with the sanitation first started when I was in high school. That was almost 50 years ago, over 50 years ago. And this collectively is just getting this fixed now, hopefully with Round Mountain. We need to fix this now. I truly believe that we're doing this for the infrastructure only to get into there.
We're just talking about rezoning.
We will have, rezoning so we can apply for the grant to get the infrastructure. I think there'll be plenty of time after that for everybody to get together and decide how we're going to implement it. If there are developers that come in and put the housing in or the units, there'll be time to get to that. We don't want to kick it down. And I want to agree with people that subsidized housing isn't a bad thing. I lived in it for 2 years, 40 years ago. So, and it was very well managed and didn't have any problems. It was in Connecticut. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Okay, I will echo the same thing. I really appreciate everybody's comments, and do realize that most of the trustees have gone to at least one, sometimes 3 of the planning commission meetings. And so this is not a new subject for us. We've heard the arguments, pro and con, and hopefully we will go in the right direction. I do appreciate everybody coming tonight. Really appreciate all the comments. Randy?
Yes, I appreciate all the comments from people. There's even been things brought up tonight that I wasn't aware of. You know, when I first started out, I lived in a trailer for 4 years. So that's, you know, that's about as low income as you can get, really. And we do need to do something to bring, to help our workforce. And we also need to start worrying about regular housing for families that they can purchase. See what's happened the last couple of years, you can't even find a house around here at an affordable price. So I do appreciate everybody's comment, and well, still thinking about it, so still digesting it.
Well, I'm glad that we've had these discussions over the months. And it seems to me, of the people that show up here, by and large, we all recognize the need. And I can't help but make this a little bit of a side. Talking to a niece of mine lives in LA, lives on a boat in the harbor, because she's paid well, it's LA. I said, did you ever look for trailers up the coast, you know, like Topanga Canyon? She said, yeah, they're $500,000. And I think that's true. So I think the concerns about how we actually proceed from step to step, we do have the time, as Chuck said. And I've been involved in a lot of grants and government regulation writing. And you have to start someplace. And you can't get much more foundational than water pipes and sewer pipes. So at this point, that's what we're dealing with. And time will come, and I think the assessments maybe will take 2 years before anybody's digging dirt. We have plenty of opportunities as the board and the planning commission to further refine what these zonings actually contain. We have the right to do that as a board. But I will want to say that, remember that in this capacity, listed for a zone change, we have to judge this by the 3 criteria that Caleb mentioned he read earlier. And I, for one, think that this proposal meets the second and third. That's it.
One thing that has not been mentioned is, can the fire department, can water and sewer, Round Mountain, handle all this if we do encourage a lot of development? Silver Cliff hopefully is going to be addressing the issue of affordable housing for the workforce. The county has been talking about it for a long time. The fire department did come at one time to a meeting and said that they do not have the capacity for a lot of high density buildings. Have they been satisfied at this point?
Yeah, so, but on just the fire need, representative from the White Mountain Fire Protection District did come in and say the capacity, they didn't have it for 4 stories, so that's why it's at 3. And they also did not have the capacity for a fire that large. So one of the talks during that conversation was considering having a 7,500 gallon cistern or something on site for them to draw to make it easier for them to put out that fire. We have an issue on water and sewage. Don't mean to misquote Dave. So Dave Schneider, if you're listening to this recording, I'm just gonna pull off roughly from what I know and summarize you, that you said that we were water rich and that we have plenty of water to support more development. And that as far as he's concerned with the sewer, it's gonna be 4 years before there's any doors put up. So it gives the department plenty of time to figure that out. And they also did receive funds from the Department of Local Affairs, so things are looking hopeful on the sewage end.
On the issue of how fast we go on this rezoning, do we hear any opinions about, do we approve both of these tonight? Is it better to approve the whole rezoning, or just go with the town lots as has been suggested before, slow it down, apply for the grant for the infrastructure, and then go to the rezoning of the rest of the privately owned areas? Does anybody have any opinions?
They're 2 separate agendas.
2 separate, yes.
So we have to vote on each one separate, right?
Yes, we're gonna be voting first on the town-owned lots to rezone those multifamily. And then we're gonna be going to the other one.
Okay.
So would you rather wait until we get to the second one? I was just wondering what
I thought the process would be that we vote on the first one, we have to give our reasons why we think they do or do not meet the criteria. And then we would have to do the same for the second.
First is the privately owned lots.
Yes. Oh, first the privately owned?
I thought the first was, oh, no, my glasses on upside down.
I read it. Jim.
You're talking about C.
Item C is the first one we wrote on, and that's the town-owned lots.
Town lots.
Yeah.
And then we go to D, which is gonna be progress of.
That is correct.
Okay.
I do ask when you do make, whatever recommendation, I recommend to approve or deny, and then start on proposed ordinance right there and just read all. Whatever you. So
I have
I
another question.
Not that you.
Yeah, let's get all the questions.
One more question for you. Let's say that the proposal that you're anticipating to submit next month will be different if only the town lots are approved or rezoned? The scope of the amount of money that you're asking for and stuff, how does applying rezoning just the town-owned lots versus zoning both the town-owned and the privately owned lots, how does that affect your proposal that you're putting for DOLA? How does it affect it?
Yeah, so ultimately, at the end of the day, the DOLA is gonna decide whether or not a project to scale of four blocks or, let's just call it 2 blocks, is going to, in one case be stronger than the other. I can just speak for the zoning we have currently. The zoning we have currently hits just about every single point. I showed you guys, we had a couple workshops on that MHM land use strategies, kind of their checklist for this grant. That if you want to know that strings attached, it's the zoning before you apply for the grant. That's the string. And I can speak to that and say, if we don't include the private owned lots, we kind of get rid of that middle multifamily that grant has. So there's one checkbox off of that checklist. But if we keep it, right, it's just, it's more. So I'd say currently as it is now, we have just about every single ask and want and need that DOLA has for this checklist. And if we start to take away from that, I will say in my own opinion that it could hurt the town's chances on acquiring the grant.
Say that again, Caleb?
I said it could hurt the town's chances on acquiring.
So we have a higher chance of acquiring the DOLA grant if all 4 blocks are included.
Based off of my own research, that and data I've gathered and concluded from the Department of Local Affairs, yes.
And maybe for clarification for those you don't know, what we're talking about here is DOLA has stated a lot of $20 million, wasn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
To communities like us around the state. And so there's way more than us applying for that $20 million and a cap of $2 million. Ours is only 1.5.
Oh, it's less than that. That's at 4
Somewhere
blocks.
right in there, so basically we're competing with other communities throughout the state, so for us to have a better chance of, saying, hey, they're gonna say, we give it to Westcliff, and it'll get more bang for our bucks to the legislature up in Denver. Okay, does that make kind
So
of in a nutshell?
When you took out those 2 blocks furthest to the west, you're not applying for water and sewer for those blocks?
That is correct. Would you like me to?
Well, again, I go back to some of the comments.
Yeah.
Are we just moving too fast before we have all of our ducks in a row?
Yeah, if you're going to include those 2 blocks, it does go back up to 1.5. I think right now without the 2 blocks, it goes down to, I think it was like 800 grand. And I'd have to check our 2025 proposed budget.
So we're saying that the people in those blocks that we're talking about rezoning are gonna get a huge windfall by getting the water and sewer in there. But the people that we put down in the other 2 blocks that are gonna remain single family, they still do an ADU, right?
But they won't.
Yeah, under the new things.
They won't have water.
They would.
They wouldn't have water and
They
sewer.
wouldn't have any water and sewer.
It'll get closer to it.
It would,
Yeah, I guess I have a problem with it.
I mean, we're a little off topic in a way, but I'm getting muddled again on the actual grants themselves. So the proposed grant at at this point, the way it's written would be for the town owned. Yeah,
To propose, it depends on whatever you vote on today.
yeah.
If you vote for just the town-owned lots, or the town-owned blocks, it'll just be for the town-owned blocks. If you do it just for the privately owned blocks, it'll just be for the privately owned blocks. If you do both, it'll be for both. So it depends on whatever, your guys' motion is, today. For when I apply for it.
Could I interject something here, please?
Please do.
I'm sorry, but I'm running out of power. I'm gonna have to leave this meeting, I think. I'm very sorry about that. So if you could call a question, I'd like it.
I missed that. If we could call a vote?
Yes.
Okay. Are we ready to vote?
Mayor Pro Tem, prior to doing that, you need to close the public hearing.
Are we ready to?
Yeah, but I think you have a problem, right here on this, you're calling it single family, it's a multifamily, but that's a town on lots. And you said the town on lots, Caleb, are not zoned, correct?
I mean, it might just be a clerical error. I don't think it changes the context for the meeting, right? It doesn't change the end result.
That was what the attorney gave us.
That's what the attorney gave us. Answers my question.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay,
You gotta close the meeting.
then let's
You gotta
close, I know, I'm sorry, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and close the public hearing, and we're not gonna go back to our regular meeting. And we're going to take a vote on whether we agree, well, I will let somebody make the motion. And we're gonna be considering,
Can you read the agenda item?
okay, this is gonna be consideration of approving proposed ordinance number 5-2024, the rezoning, and that is okay, to do rezoning even though it's not zoned, of town-owned lots, BLK block 33, lots 15 to 28, from single family to multifamily district, per the planning commission's recommendation, and designating 33A and 34A. Now, I asked you about this before. I guess this is what our attorney said to put down to, which designating 33A and 34A, I don't understand completely what that means, but.
You're just naming on.
Okay, we're just making, okay, so they're calling them.
So if we vacate,
Yeah, okay, I got it.
we vacate that upper portion of 6, be included in it as well.
Yeah, it would be called 33A at that point.
Okay, any further discussion before we do a roll call? Okay, the clerk, please call.
Mayor Winkie,
No.
Mr.
No.
Mauer,
So we're just voting on the town-owned lots. I will vote yes.
Mr. Yago,
I vote yes.
Mr. Fulton,
Yes.
Mr. Willem,
Yes.
and Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Motion
Okay, motion
passes.
passes. And now we will go to the next one. Consideration of approving proposed ordinance number 6-2024, the rezoning of block 1920-33, which is lots 1 through 14 of that, and 34 from single family to multifamily for the planning commission's recommendation.
Hate to do this, but Caleb, could you put the map up again? With my old eyes and that cursor of yours, I really didn't tell which one to point to.
Definitely.
You wanna look at that one?
Okay, there we go, right up on the screen.
So that's what we're calling 33A and 34A.
Got that. I'm
And
thinking.
then those other blocks, right, anyway. And then we're talking about those other blocks, so that's.
Yeah,
what
the other
we're
one.
voting.
Yeah, so here is private, or excuse me, here's public. That's town, that would be town, and then that's town owned as well.
Yep, got that.
And then Your private is gonna be all this, should be purple, but it may come up as blue on your screen. All of this, half of 33, all of 34, 20, and 19.
And so remaining, the ones that are white colored next to Sixth Street, that's not included in either proposition.
These white colored, so on the town map, that's why I included this as purple/blue, this white colored here next to Sixth Street by 34A. That's actually private. The map is wrong on that. Now, if we go up, that is public, that is public lands. So that is a distinction between them. It's best just to look at that orange outlet.
No, wait a minute, when you had the cursor, were you on the Sixth Street or on the land to the left of it?
So here,
Yeah.
private, public, private.
So the upper one is public. Yes, the upper one along vacated Sixth Street is included in the resolution we just passed. Yeah, okay. And then as far as the other white one that's adjacent to Sixth, which is part of 34, that is not included in either proposition, is that right?
No, that is wrong.
That is wrong. It's included in what?
The block 34, all of block 34 is private. So that will be in this next proposition.
Oh, so the fact that it doesn't have jagged lines on it isn't relevant.
Correct, yeah, the zoning map is wrong.
That's what was muffing me up. Okay. So this new proposition and is for basically the whole bunch, other than the upper portion of 33 adjacent to Sixth Street. That's already been passed in the resolution we just did, right?
Yeah.
We're not including those 2 blocks all the way to the west.
Correct.
So they will get no water and sewer.
Correct. Right.
Okay, so.
May I interject for a second, please?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't have, I'm sorry, I think, I need to change my vote if that's possible on the first, on C, because I misunderstood. I don't have the agenda in front of me. I apologize. I just have a screen and I apologize. But I do support 5/20/24 rather than not support it. That's the town-owned lots and 15 to 28 on block 33. So I do approve, I do support that. Apologize.
Okay, we will let you change your vote according to the town clerk. And so, yes, your vote has been changed to yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any discussion before we take a vote on this next one? And I will start out and I say, I really don't think it's fair at this point to take out those other 2 blocks. I understand your reasoning about this. I also have problems with private property being changed like this. We are already really expanded our ADU rules for the town. And I think that private landowners in all those blocks should have the chance to do their own private home. They want to put in an ADU, it'd be great. They want to do a duplex, they already can, it'd be great. But I'm not sure if it's up to the town to make that decision. That's my comment. Does anybody else have a
I
comment?
guess my thought would be going back to the 3 criteria, which we just heard over and over again, we have to abide by. It's not clear to me that it's necessary to do the second one in order to meet the goals of the town, which is the 3rd criteria. And it's a big hunk of land. I don't know that we know that it's a substantial change in use because we don't know how many people would actually want to build there. So I don't think the second proposal actually satisfies criteria 2 or 3. So I don't see us passing that one for that reason.
Other comments? Yes, John.
Last question or concern. If the board decides to not approve the rezoning of the privately owned lots in the future, would they absolutely not be allowed to tap into the infrastructure for sewer and water at a later date?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay, if we put let's say that we got the grant to put the infrastructure in with just the town-owned lots.
Yeah.
in the future, if somebody wanted to put something on those privately owned lots, they would be out of luck. They would not be allowed to tap into this.
That's not correct.
No,
It's not correct. So they would
Randy
still.
and I are both on the water board, and by law, since we're on both, we can't really comment. But as an engineer, when the proposals are actually written, when you start to go for the grants, I would hope that we would beef up the piping where necessary in the grant application and stub out and do all that, put in manholes or whatever necessary, so that in future, hooking up with an adequate supply system and the sewer system is not starting all over again. I would hope that we would do that. And therefore, Chuck, if we do.
So our infrastructure will be good for everybody in the 6 blocks.
Yeah.
Except they just have to extend it.
And I would hope those.
They have to extend it. They
It's
would be
okay
able
with
to tap.
Round
Okay, that's fine. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
I agree with you about leaving that far west 2 blocks out because, and do we know which of the 8 were some of those property owners on that west side?
We
would support.
I'm that answer I couldn't give you right now without looking at that paperwork.
I do think we can always revisit it too.
Sure.
I don't think we have to do it tonight, but we made a good start with the town on. Okay, we ready for roll call, so Paul doesn't run out of power?
You need a motion.
Oh. Okay, I read what it was. Could somebody make a motion that we either approve or deny extending or doing the rezoning for these other privately owned lots? Okay, what?
Let me say proposed ordinance 6-2024.
53, the agenda item.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So isn't that what I just read?
No, and can you, if you say consideration of. Or denying.
Okay, consideration of approving proposed ordinance 6-2024. That's what I thought I said. The rezoning of block 19-20-33, and that part of it is lots 1 through 14 and 34 from single family to multifamily per the planning commission's recommendation. Could we have somebody make a motion that we either, we can do it, you can either approve it or we can, if somebody like to make a motion to get it going, do we not, do we approve it, do we deny it?
I make a motion that we consider the approving of. I make a motion that we approve the rezoning for zoning for 6-2024, rezoning blocks 19, 20, 33, lots 1 through 14 and 34 from single family to multifamily per the planning commission's recommendation.
Okay, do we have a second that? This is to approve the way it's written.
I second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. We have a roll call.
Mayor Winkie,
No.
Mr. Mowry,
No.
Mr. Yago,
Yes.
Mr. Fulton,
Yes.
Mr. Wilhelm,
No,
Mr. Dombrowski,
the kingmaker, no.
Okay, so the motion did not pass at this time to change the rezoning of the privately owned lots. So you will go ahead with the application for the grant for the town.
You got it.
I'd like to make a comment, or is it out of order?
I will allow it.
Yeah, I've been involved in a lot of grants on both sides. And I wouldn't be surprised if Phyllis says, hey, you guys put on rezone all this and apply for the big grant. You got any estimate what the demand will be to justify taxpayers' investment in something so big? Which is why I didn't think that met the criteria of items 2 and 3. It's not necessary to fulfill the town's desires, and I'm not so sure the use of the land has changed significantly. Very good.
Okay, so now we have we've already closed public, should only have the votes in the public. What?
Close the public hearing.
Okay, we already closed that, okay. All right, so now we're gonna open up the next public hearing. Anybody that needs to leave, we appreciate you coming. We hope that what we did reached everybody's, at least understanding about it.
George,
Yes, sir.
on the power.
You're out of power.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon. Thank you for coming in. Go back to
See you in December.
Okay, bye. Okay, we are now gonna open the next public hearing. And this is consideration of approving proposed ordinance number 7-2024, rezoning of 106 South 7th Street from residential single family to a traditional neighborhood per the planning commission's recommendation. Okay, we have somebody here representing this.
I'm the representative.
Okay, you want
Oh, I purchased the property this last summer. Oh, I'm Ben Livesey. I own 106 South 7th Street now. Purchased the property last summer and hopes of building a building that will pay for itself. My 84-year-old grandmother moved here with me 4 years ago. My house burned, and since then I've been paying for her to stay with other people. So what I want to do is build apartment space on the second floor, apartment for my grandmother, other apartments to lease out. Sheriff Smith asked me to consider to have at least one apartment that his deputies could rent out. I said I was willing to consider that. Downstairs on the first floor, I would make a commercial venue space with a stage where the artistic dance studio could have space to have proper studio space or use the stage. We'd also rent it out for venues on the weekends. And then I would have a second space where it would have a commercial kitchen for caterers to rent and office space on the first floor, and then possibly a basement. And I would design the building to where it would be all ADA accessible, so you would have an elevator go from the basement, first floor, and second floor. It would also have a stairway, be 1920s Art Deco style, so it will look like a building that's been there 100 years. I've already picked out a local brick from Summit Brick Company in Pueblo, Colorado, called Heritage Brick. And it looks like an aged antique brick. That's a modular brick. I'm happy to answer any questions. Anybody has any input?
So what is your timeline of that? Do you already have the financing and everything for this? Is this
I-
something immediately happen or?
I'm hoping to get going by the summer. I still have to meet Caleb's necessity of having a architect and the structural plans. So I'm hoping it doesn't take more than 6 months, but I'm not going to invest money in a lost cause if I'm told, no, you can't build this building. Because what's the point of already buying the land and then hoping that things will work out?
So is this, I've got a little mixed up. Is this where the dance studio is now? So that building's going on, or is it behind it?
It is next to Peregrine, so it's on the west side of the road. There's the county extension building that's yellow, and then there's Peregrine Coffee Roasters.
Right in there.
Yeah, if you already talked about, have you discussed parking? Where's your parking going to be?
I'm
On the lot?
gonna have parking along the front, I'm gonna have parking along the side, and I'm gonna have parking along the back.
That is not town property, correct?
The parking along the front would be public easement. building plans, that would be checked in building.
I'm
plans.
sorry.
That would be checked in building plans during building plan review, parking.
So we will have enough, parking according to our rules, correct?
According to our Title 10, Chapter 4, correct?
He will have enough private property parking.
I will make sure I have enough private parking.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because, you know.
That's why I have to work with the architect to make the proper adjustments to the size of the building in order to build.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a carpenter and mason by trade, engineer in the army, and have a building background.
Okay.
So.
Caleb, could you just give us a summary of what this change means?
Yeah, this is just a residential single family district to traditional neighborhood. Every single area, every single lot in that area is already traditional neighborhood, except for that back half of that block. So really this change does blend in well with the surrounding area, so.
What is, the town lot right across the street is considered what?
That town open lot.
So it's not
town-owned
zoned
slash
at all?
open space. Yeah, I mean, that would be its zoning designation, town-owned slash open space.
And then Round Mountains would also be the same, correct?
Correct.
And when it went before the planning commission, was there any objections?
No, I think there's all yays. Yeah. So we, the board will just have to figure out if it goes with 1 through 3 of that 10, 1, and 11, and I can reread that for you guys if you'd like.
Okay, so now we need to get out of the.
Public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, let's end the public hearing and go back to consideration of this.
Any other comments, though?
That's why I'm gonna, yeah. So we can still comment, right?
Yeah,
Before the vote.
typically you read the agenda item, do the motion and then do discussion.
So while you're still in public hearing, continue putting, have it in public, and then when you close it, then do as well as you said.
And we read it again.
Yeah, so if there's no other comment from the public, we close the public hearing and then go to read
I
the
never
next
asked you
agenda.
guys for comments. I apologize. Does anybody have any comments about this? Are there any objections or? Yes.
I'm Matthew Berry. I'd like to talk in support of Ben. I've known him for 3 or 4 years now. Definitely an active supporter of the community, trying to build what he feels the community would need. I can also speak to needing an open space for art that isn't the Jones Theater or the Dome. Between those two venues, we're a little bit limited in what our use space is. The Jones Theater is very much a theater, which is great for theatrical productions. The dance studio needs a larger space. I think that being with Ben's idea of creating a space where he could lease it out, you're gonna see the dance studio, you're gonna see bands, and also I understand that there would probably be noise ordinances that would be have to be complied with. And I believe that Ben would definitely take all of that to heart. He has the experience, he has the know-how, and I fully support this. Thank you.
Have you talked to Peregrine? They're all.
I've talked to Peregrine. Stephen is for it. I have talked to the Thomasons, he's for it. I've talked to Tumbleweed Coffee, they have no problem with it. Peregrine Coffee asked me to make some design modifications to the building to suit them for a possibility of having use of being able to bring like a semi truck by and unload their coffee. Because currently they unload their coffee at a private warehouse north of town. And I said I'd be willing to make that consideration. Thomasons asked me to make it to where the light is not, any lighting on the building would be tasteful and not put too much light into the backyard, which I'm willing to adjust lighting. I believe in the dark skies, I want to protect that. Then I could not contact the Kingsman property directly to the west of my property. I cannot get a hold of those people. And then I asked the dance studio if I was given approval to build this building, what they would need for their students to be able to have proper facility to dance. My kids go to artistic dance studio. I'm also looking at having room for my VFW post here in West Cliff. I'm the post commander to be able to have the VFW to be able to have a place to put their flags and to have proper awards and so forth and do the community events. I've talked to the Courtyard Inn, and they would like me to consider, they're not in the same block, but they would like me to consider having a caterer's kitchen to where it could be leased, and several other people within the community are interested in leasing a commercial kitchen. And then I've talked to teachers, and I asked them what was affordable for their rent. And I talked to Sheriff Smith, and he told me what was affordable for rent for them. So I would like to be able to have some smaller affordable units and then have some larger units as well.
So it's a pretty big.
Sounds like you've covered more than just your bases. You covered everybody.
I was looking at my yearly income revenue for my business plan to present to the bank. But the banks told me I cannot proceed with any financing until I get the property rezoned. If it's just staying residential, then the banks are walking away from me.
Okay.
So it kind of leaves me up a creek, because then I bought a property that was useless to me.
Now we close the public hearing. Okay, public hearing, if there's no objections, is now closed. And now we are going to be taking a vote on ordinance number 7/2024, the rezoning of 106 South 7th Street from residential single family to traditional neighborhood per the planning commission's recommendation. Is there any further discussion amongst board members?
Kevin, do you have to give notice to the adjoining property owners?
Yes, we did.
I did.
Yep, due notice was given.
Anybody else? Okay,
I make a motion that we rezone 106 South 7th Street from residential single family to traditional neighborhood.
I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, if you please do a roll call.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. Yago,
Yes.
Mr. Fulton.
Yes.
Mr. Wilhelm,
Yes.
Mr. Dabowski.
Yes, it needs number 2. Gotta put it on the record.
Okay, the motion has been approved unanimously.
Thanks, Ben, for your.
Okay, G, consideration of a request to publish a request for proposal for IT services. Town clerk will tell us all about it.
I think it would be important for the town to have someone to help with IT work. The county does, special districts do. Just in the event we have a computer crash or just something dire. So I'd like to put an RFP in the paper. That's it.
So we're not putting any dollar amount, we're seeing what the response will be.
Well, we budgeted for IT services that we can go over tomorrow in our workshop, but yeah, it would be a matter of who came in with what type of bid.
What was the amount budgeted for the IT services next year?
We combined it with the accessibility stuff, so we can go over the breakdown tomorrow.
Okay, I'd like to see what the RFP looks like, whether it's full-time, part-time, prices and whatnot.
It'd be like part-time, just in the event
As needed.
something happens as needed, yeah.
We'll definitely sit down and go over that. That'd be good.
Probably for a proposal like this, we don't want to talk about figures of what we budgeted.
No, I guess you don't want them going back into the public meeting, right?
Yeah.
Well, the budget is public record.
Right.
Yeah, they can look at it regardless.
No, we don't need like that.
Aaron, did that include any hardening of the system
It,
in this proposal?
I would be looking for that in someone's bid, yeah.
They're gonna specify something they recommend to us, blah,
Right,
blah, blah. Yeah.
So just so the trustees know, in the past, the clerks have always done IT. And we've done it by just Googling. You don't have time to do that anymore. You really need somebody that knows what they're doing,
Sure.
and we don't.
Around now, I actually, got an IT people.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Right, and Mr. Wilhelm gave me their information that I'll follow up on.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they can even share.
Does Google offer IT services?
Actually,
How to fix this.
YouTube it.
YouTube question? Yeah, I know that's probably not public comment, but I do IT services, so I'm specifically asking, when you put out the RFP, do you have already scoping in mind? Is scoping already put in that, or how does that work?
We haven't gotten that far, I'll post the RFP in the Tribune and see what comes in. Yeah, but thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna need a motion to,
I move that we authorize Aaron, the soon-to-be town clerk, to put an RFP out for IT services for the town.
I second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, we don't need a roll call for this. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Unanimously passed. H, consideration of a request to approve the over rate of $8,047.60 Black Mountain Hills energy bill for the EVs charging stations work. Carol.
Yeah, so right away, my fault on this. When we went to budget, I should have put this in the budget and well over the amount of, what we figured in construction costs would be. We were figuring exactly, because I got the figures earlier, was $10,505.54. This is coming more than that. My conversation with Black Hills was specifically Craig, was to install a 3-phase pole to primary line, transformer installation, as well as a meter. So that's kind of what we're looking at as far as what we're paying for. So that's what the overage is for. The overage is $8,047.60 over the $10,505.54 amount. So
Does
my
it
fault,
seem-
I should have budgeted that before, and I did not do that.
Does it seem like we are gonna get them done soon after we?
It does seem like we are actually gonna be getting them done.
That's all.
When I told you guys when they get installed, I didn't know if the system would be there, but the date was fall. They've been installed in fall, just the system's not up yet, so we're on the right time.
Is this going to be on the 24 budget that this comes out of, or the 25?
24.
And it'll come out general fund. 'Cause
General fund.
So the systems are there, right? It's just the transformer and the feed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how did we come out on the other thing?
What other thing?
The installation, because Black Hills didn't do the whole thing, correct?
Yeah, that is installation cost. That's 10, I don't have that total on me, do you have that?
Oh, that's okay.
It's 10,500 plus 8,000.
It's fine.
Anybody else? If we have a motion, can we approve this?
I'll make a motion that we improve the overage for the EV chargers of $8,047.60.
Second.
Second.
Okay. We have Mark.
Yeah.
Making a motion, Randy making a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, are there any additions to the agenda before we get to staff reports? Good. Which one would you want again? Karen?
I have one short one.
Okay, oh, then go ahead.
Our audit is complete. There is a copy on your desk, and it has been filed with the state. And then we are still going to need the audit letter. And once we have that, we'll give you each a copy. But has been filed with the state. It didn't affect our sales tax income, so.
The deadline was what, end of this month? So you're ahead?
Well, an extension had been filed from our auditors, yes.
And they went past that. So the consequences are we cannot file for an extension next year?
This was the auditor's, it was their fault, basically, right?
Yes, Tim had a double concussion
Good reasons, but
and he was down for quite a while.
it's not our fault.
No.
Okay, Caleb, you're up.
So very small as well, RFP for housing needs assessment inquiries due today. Been out for a week, so tomorrow I'll be checking our inquiries and see what, who's responded to that RFP. If we don't get any inquiries, I'll just extend the date out probably another week or two. Silvercliff called me and said we can be a little bit lenient on their April date. They had a date that they needed to supply, but that's been a little bit more lenient. The circumstances have changed. Now, she mentioned the workforce housing ordinance. I do have, I remember the first time I came to you guys, there was something that I had that was like 8 pages long already, and I wasn't even halfway done. I've just scrapped that. I reached out to Crescent View and Mount Crescent View, 2 different towns, and got their templates, and I've been kind of working on that, taking out, putting into what they have to kind of match our municipality. So you can expect that next year. I won't give you an exact date, but you definitely can expect that next year. Please.
At one of our workshops, I'm getting mixed up on the names of the organizations. We had a proposal or a presentation from an outfit that helps design these projects, right?
Give you the update on that.
See something or other, I forget the name.
Yeah, CHAFA, Colorado Housing Finance Authority. I just got done off the phone with them, not the day actually before I went on vacation this past week. Right now, I just gave them some more, they reached back and touched base with me. They're not done on the drawings just yet. But I did touch down with them and kind of give them the zoning parameters, what it might look like, and then have them get ready to have something to present to you here. So we're still waiting on them to give some drawings.
So if we approve what they propose, that would be part of your DOLA grant, right? Application or not?
I could put it in the application. It doesn't get approved until April. So I imagine, as Randy Senior, our DOLA rep is vouching for us on that, on that state level, when it comes to those grants, I can send that in later and say, hey, show this to whomever it is, this committee who looks at this grant and see.
I gotta say, as a grant in the past, the more relevant stuff that shows you got your ducks in a row and you're ready to tell a story, that's what helps getting through.
Agree. I think anything else, especially visuals.
Yeah.
Especially visuals when it comes to housing. Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any public comments of things you would like to have on the agenda in the future? We're down to a select few here. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
You bet.
Which one do you two want to?
You can have it.
Okay, Randy, make a motion.
But I'll second it.
Okay, Mark, try it. Okay, everybody. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thanks for.
Yes.
Did you just move?
Yeah, you guys have been the host.
Or did you?